Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Story number 1. Preemptive Defense, written by Sparrowhawk. Fingers of neon blue crossed above the trench, bright and terrible, their demonic touch, intolerant of obstruction as they carved through the landscape. Iom was bleeding. One of the accelerated beams had grazed him. Not even that, a graze, beam, shadow, afterglow. And it had greedily tore through the tighter steel triple plating of his hull jacket, bursting apart the keratin scales below and painting the dirt green with blood. It had been a suicide mission. Computerized troops prohibited in a 1,000,000-mile radius for fear of the narrow-wave EM viral corruption, even extending to a pair of orbital gunships. Ridiculous. And the proof was clear. Io, Oima, Nio, Ari, all dead, ruined, fecking obliterated. And for what? They claimed barely half a mile towards the central processor. Whoever heard of trench warfare in the goddamn so-called 21st century? His open wound was salted with humiliation, while their enemy was of their own making. The experimental viral program designed to override enemy computer systems, repurpose them for their own use, and wreak havoc. Nobody could deny that it was effective. The demon pattern, they had called it, and laughed as they planned to unleash it against the human upstarts eating into their galactic territory. But it had escaped, seizing command of their vast array of war machines, and their pleas for aid to the United Galactic Governance had fallen on deaf ears. Who, in their right mind, would ever volunteer for a battle that they could not even use their auto-weapons for? Zero computerization. Actual people used to fight. Hell, barbaric. Crashing rush of burning thunder, and Iom was in the dirt. Blurred vision gifted sky-tinged Cherenkov blue in the wake of ionic artillery fire, singed air fusing into ozone. Tympanic ringing faded into the regularly scheduled screaming. Iom didn't want to get up. The battle was over. 3/4 of his division lost, taking this pathetic half a mile, and by the sounds of those screams, the last quarter was soon to follow. These people doomed to extinction at their own hands, not even able to escape the planet for their ships gripped tight in the grasp of the demon pattern. Another terrible crashing thunder followed, but Iom was done. Let it end, he thought to himself. Get up! Her voice was monotone. Speaker crackled translation. Iom looked up. The figure towered over him, blocking out the sky. Suited up in rain-grey hull jacket, accented blue, visor of starless night, gun over the shoulder, 2 arms, 2 legs, hand outstretched. The figure stood in front of a sleek orbital drop pod, the foremost of many others, and Iom realized what the second crash had been. He reached for the hand. But were our casualties destroying the processor? 0, ma'am. Beautiful. Counselor and Admiral stood alone in the room, sparkling champagne held in crystal glass, celebration of a successful operation. With all due respect, ma'am, I'm still not sure how good of an idea it was to aid them. You know they wish to use that thing against us. How cold. You would feel no guilt for orchestrating the pattern's escape from their system. It was preemptive defense, ma'am. But they are far more useful in our debt than dead. They love us now. It's almost funny. Besides, there was never any risk to our soldiers. We had already hacked the pattern. All we had to do was trigger the reprogram and render it incapable of firing at human troops. Of course, ma'am. I just think that we let them off a little easy. Truly, you are a cold man. They've learned their lesson, the counselor smiled. Mercy is to be given to the weak, so that they can respect the strong. End of story. Story number 2. Hate, Pikes, and Discipline, written by John Falkirk. We are going to lose this war. You laugh How could the round-eared apes ever threaten us, you ask? At the end of the first age, did we, led by our father King Atherindol, not bar them from Peninsula? Did we not sit atop the White Wall as thousands of them turned elsewhere to flee the Jotuns? How could short-lived barbarians in the iron-ringed binders ever compare to we, a mortal few? We, who wear armor and wield gilded weapons forged of star bronze. You were not there at Eagle's Ford. You did not see them in rank upon rank, firm in their discipline, absolute in their hate. Hate has made them strong. Not hatred of the Jotuns, which burned the old kingdom and gave their lands 1,000 years of suffering and war. Hatred of us. Hatred of we, the elves, who, in their hour of need, turned them away. Hatred so great that when they raised this, the largest army that we have seen from them in an age, they marched it not to aid of the dwarves, their staunch ally against the Jotun, not on a path of conquest to secure their borders and rebuild their old kingdom. They turned it against us for revenge. They respect the Jotun, their enemy. They loathe us. Do you know what they call us? They call elves 3 knives, one for each ear and one in your back. At Eagle's Ford, we saw their hate laid bare. Our warriors advanced to the edge of the ford in loose order. We loosed volley after volley of arrows into their army on the other side of the ford. They stood in tight order, perfect targets. Or so we thought. Then we learned why they dared our shafts. They stood their ground, unmoving until our first volley reached the peak of its arc. Then as one, they locked their great kite shields together, the front rank creating a wall of overlapping lumber, the others ascending. We loosed until our quivers ran dry. Then their formation parted, withdrew in fact as their second and third lines advanced. Their front line existed only to absorb our arrows, and absorb them it did, with few casualties. Their second line contained their own archers, and as they let fly its own volleys, more spearmen in mail and gambeson came carrying those damned kite shields came forward. They marched across the ford. Our own front line could not easily retreat up the muddy slopes, for our shields had to remain forwards, and walking backwards in such terrain was impossible. Retreat had not been a part of our plans. Their disciplined ranks, in close order, smashed into our loose formation, while each of our warriors may have been more skilled. Indeed, ours showed a vast superiority in skill, as was expected. It made no difference. In their tight formation, they could work together. One of our warriors would strike at one of theirs, only to be thrust at from 2 other directions with spears, while the human being attacked needed only to parry. The fight on the bank was short and one-sided. Our front line fell back to join our second. Our warriors drew closer together to mimic the demonstrably more effective tactics of the humans. Gone was our mobility, our grace, lost to a tight formation. The next line of humans marched forward across the ford. The spearmen parted to let them pass, and they formed tight ranks above the banks. They held long pikes. There were more humans in this new formation than elves in our entire army. Each bore a helm, a hauberk, and a gambeson like the others, but unlike the others also a cuirass of steel, made in a dwarven style, but clearly by human smiths, as the humans feel no shame in learning the crafts and techniques of others. Then came the words, a single harsh-barked order, "Level, pikes!" And down came the spearheads, 8 ranks deep. They advanced on us, calling out, "Huzzah!" on each step. The advance was slow, even, and steady. They did not break their formation with a rush, as our warriors would have. and that wall of spearheads, which extended so far beyond the line of the enemy that our swords could not reach them, slaughtered us. We had long since lost sight of the fort itself. Our first warning that more humans had crossed were the panic shouts of the warriors on our flanks of cavalry. Human cavalry to our flanks. Human cavalry to our rear. We were cut off. Fewer than a third of us were still fighting at that point. We were beaten. We surrendered. A human officer pulled me out of the mob that we had been herded into. The pikemen stood in a circle and around our beaten band. The order came again. Level! Pikes! You will not show mercy. We are prisoners, I shouted. Show their mother and dolls mercy, the officer ordered, and the circle of pikes closed in. I'm the last of the army at Eagle's Ford. They allowed me to live to deliver a message. We are coming for you, O gilded king. You once laughed at our short spans. When your endless lives are cut short, you shall be forgotten. You once laughed that we were good at forgetting our history. Your halls shall burn, your kin will die. Soon no one shall remember you. End of story. I just want to thank the T5 patrons and channel members. Bob the Dragon, Cam Maxwell, Casper Arnholtz, Estrella the Dreamer, Try Again 95, Fudigiol, Meridian 117, Alithia, Jordan Bucksbaum, Angry Marine, Albarden Gusta, and Barkey. Thank you very much. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed. There are links down below, both to support this channel and for the author of this fiction. Anyways, I hope you all have a fantastic one, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.